There is a crisis in San Diego County that we have covered. Actually, it's in the southern side, and you're a county supervisor in San Diego. The beach, one of the beaches, have been closed for over 1,000 days, Imperial Beach, a really good surfing spot. And what's the situation right now?
Well, the situation right now is we're still being overwhelmed with sewage coming across the border from Tijuana into our estuaries here in southern San Diego County, and it's polluting the waterways. We do have a sewage treatment plant there that is paid for by the federal government that is treating some of the sewage, but there's so much coming across that unfortunately it's making its way all the way to our beaches. And Imperial Beach, which is the most southernmost beach in San Diego County, like you said, had been closed for over 3 years. No one can go in the water. And it's not just right there. That sewage also kind of makes its way upstream. There's like a little eddy right there around the coast where it goes up into Coronado, where the Coronado, which is the famous Coronado Hotel, is located right there. Some days that their beaches also have been closed. And we also have a very sensitive area where our United States Navy SEALs, they train in those same waters in a lagoon within the bay, and that is becoming contaminated as well. We've been having people getting sick, and so we're trying to we need this site cleaned up. We need to have Mexico stop dumping sewage into the United States, and we need to put an end to that.
According to some reports, we were told that this is actually going airborne, and now it's in the air.
Absolutely.
In that area, right?
Well, it's just the stench, and it's not just sewage, it's also chemicals and anything else. There's these huge cement swales, to collect water. LA, they have these big swales you see for the collecting of the water and things like that. It goes right through Tijuana, through the eastern portion of Tijuana, and it just ends this big, huge swale, which is several miles long and has a couple of forks that feed into it, end up in our country where this is sewage and contamination, and some of the maquiladoras are entering and just throwing some of their chemicals and things like that. So we're seeing not just sewage, but a lot of other dangerous chemicals that are just being thrown into this canal that ends up in the United States. And so we've been attempting to clean that up, but we just can't keep up with it. And whenever there's a big rain or a big storm, we're deluged with it. And unfortunately, it's close. You're right. It's in the air now. One of the things the county has done, but it hasn't made much of a dent, is put air purifiers in people's homes or pay for those purifiers. But it may make that one little small area smell a little bit better. But it's just the cure is fixing and stopping the flow of the sewage and contaminants that are coming across the border.
And does that have to be through the federal government or?
So there's been a lot of finger pointing going back and forth as to whose problem this really is. The county of San Diego, we've been looking to the state. The state hasn't been able to do anything about it. This is an international border. And so I really think the federal government needs to step up with this. And now with the new administration and the new EPA administrator, it appears that they have recently changed their mind and may be considering this site as a Superfund site, which means hopefully money and or resources will come in to clean this up. But we really have to stop the flow coming from Mexico. If we clean it up and it's still coming in, it's kind of a waste of money. We have to stop the flow and clean it up.
Now, what about Mexico? And I mean, they have challenges. You guys talk to them.
Well, right now, we have had some agreements with Tijuana. The federal government funds a wastewater facility site. We actually have a sewage treatment plant site in the U.S. It has pipes coming underneath the border from the central part of Tijuana, and we are actually treating their sewage. But the capacity of this plant is only about, 25,000 gallons per day, but we're really getting about 50,000 gallons a day. And it doesn't really pick up all of the contaminants that are coming through the Tijuana River. So we have had some agreements. We are currently paying for and treating some of their sewage right now, but we can't handle the amounts that are coming across. We're getting what's being piped in, but what's being just dumped into these big open swales, these concrete swales, is anybody's guess, and that's where we're getting most of the contaminants.
Now, some of this is actually going and hitting some of the beaches in Tijuana too, right? That
Absolutely.
area, because the sewage is actually going to that
Yes.
whole area.
That's absolutely. There's like 3 sections of Tijuana. There's the section right by the water, near the ocean, and unfortunately, that is actually going directly out into the ocean, in some cases untreated. There's a central part of Tijuana, which is actually, they are putting that central part of Tijuana, that sewage is coming to the treatment plant on the U.S. side, and we're treating that. On the eastern section of Tijuana is where these big swales are, these big concrete swales that are used to divert water, but those are coming from the eastern section. So there's like 3 different problem areas within Tijuana. One is it's going directly into the water, and the other way, it's from the eastern side going into the water, but via the Tijuana River on the U.S. side of the border.
Can you tell us about the Navy SEALs training? Because this is a pretty famous site, right?
The Navy SEALs train in San Diego Bay, which is just north of this site where this estuary is and the Tijuana River is. And so there is some of that bacteria makes its way into the south end of the San Diego Bay, and the SEALs, they're in the water a lot, and they train there. And unfortunately, we've been hearing that they've been moving some of their training elsewhere, or they haven't been able to train on certain maneuvers based on the contamination of the water and things like that. So this is really impacting as a national security issue for us and for our training base in San Diego Bay. But it is, I think, one of the biggest natural disasters that's taking place here in the country that most people don't even realize it. But we're getting, Tijuana is a huge, densely packed city, and the amount of sewage and contaminants that are coming and entering our country and contaminating our bay and beaches has gone on for too long.
And that Navy SEAL training is pretty complex, right? The way they do this training in the water, and they have to be there in hours and different types of
all times of the day and night and all sorts of, yes, it's very intense, heavy training. And as the name SEAL would imply, they're in the water a lot. We got to have clean water for these brave people to train in. So that's why just another reason. We're a big Navy town also. The entire bay, we've got a lot of Navy ships and military ships and things like that. We can't be having contaminated water in the Bay of San Diego or even along our beaches to fulfill that part of our U.S. national defense. When
we looked into this, some people told us NAFTA is part of this because we are putting these maquiladoras in Tijuana and they're making stuff for us, but then they are polluting the water and sending it.
Well, and this is just only things that I've heard, that the maquiladoras are doing this. I don't have that for facts. I don't have that actual data, but that's what we're hearing. But some of the stuff that's coming through looks like it does, originate in some factories within Tijuana. So it could be a NAFTA issue, but I really think we've got to be able to put the pressure on Mexico. We've even thought in San Diego County is maybe we should sue Mexico. Well, a county suing another country, it would just be a whole bunch of money thrown at lawyers and probably nothing really getting done. I think this administration needs to, use the leverage that we have with Mexico and say, look, you have to stop putting this sewage and these contaminants. We can no longer have them come into our country. I mean, to me, we should put a dam up across this thing. I mean, it's something we could stop, but then it would all, stay in Tijuana. Maybe that's the answer, but we got to be able to have some leverage. And I'm hoping with the new administration, the Trump administration, that they have that capability of saying, before we do anything else or have any other types of agreements, or maybe agreements on tariffs or things like that, this should be part of the equation. So this stops and they stop polluting their beaches and our beaches.